Welcome to Let's Talk KBG. I'm Marla Slovin, and I'm here with my son Grant. And I'm going to ask him some very similar questions for Siblings Day that I asked to Aiden, Ava, and Taylor. So, Grant, welcome to Let's Talk KBG.
Thank you.
Okay, so I'm going to jump right in. Obviously, your brother has this KBG diagnosis. How did you or do you accept Jordan's KBG diagnosis?
I mean, it didn't really change anything. He's always been my brother, and it just means that there was a title and I get to wear a cool bracelet all the time.
Okay, what do you tell people when they ask you about your brother?
Usually they ask first just about my bracelet, and then it goes into the whole explanation about how I have this brother and I have this dad, and it kind of makes sense that one has it and the other one has it, and they're the first people to pass it down genetically that they know of, or were one of the first. And I just kind of talk about how it's this huge grouping of conditions that make up KBG.
Now, when you are with Jordan or when you were with Jordan, did anybody ask you then, like, was there anything visible or any behaviors or anything that you can remember that people would ask you if everything was okay?
I don't think so. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think so.
Okay, I just was curious. Um, and obviously he's younger than you are. So did you ever feel how did it make you feel growing up when we when I well, yeah, how did it make you feel when I had to go do things with him because he wasn't diagnosed with KBG? So we were dealing with so many other pieces of the syndrome now that we know of, but how did that make you feel as far as me having to deal with him?
I remember very clearly I would be jealous that he got to spend all this time going around, eating out at lunch and all these other things. Um, so you took me out of school one day to spend a life in the day of Jordan, and it was the longest, craziest day of my life because we just spent every minute in the car going from therapist to doctor to appointment. And
What did that teach?
I never wanted to do that again.
And what did that teach you?
That he's different than me because I don't go all around. Now he doesn't, but when he was a kid, I thought he was always just having fun, and not very fun.
How do you feel when someone asks you about Jordan? Like, does it give you an odd feeling or do you just don't even get what they're asking? Like, what is your initial reaction?
He's my brother. He works, he goes to school, he does everything else, but sometimes he just needs a little bit of help.
Well, do you think that there's things that Jordan is not going to be able to do? Like, is he going to be able? I don't know. You answer my question first, and then I'll ask more questions.
I feel like if he wants to do something, he'll do it. Whether or not he's able to, I mean, he'll always try. I mean, if you told me 5 years ago that he was going to build himself a computer and have a job, I probably would have said you were crazy. So I feel like he surprises all of us constantly with what he chooses to do or try. So it wouldn't really surprise me if there was something he wanted to try.
What about his relationships? Like, do you? What are the things that you find the hardest for Jordan that are related to KBG?
I have no idea. I don't like, give me a different question. I don't know.
Well, like his relationships, like his friendships, like, what his comfort levels are that are probably the way th- what I guess I'm asking you, how is he different? I know he's your brother, but how is he different than maybe your friend's siblings? Or how is he different than you? You were both raised the same, so how is he different than you?
He's got s- things that just he can't do that I don't have to think about. I guess one of them could just be picking up and moving across the country and having to basically start a miniature life while I'm here. I don't know if he'd be able to do that without somebody with him all the time.
So now he's gotten very lucky and he's been able to participate in sports. Do you feel that he was just as good at somebody else who played tennis? Like, do you think his KBG affected the way he did the sports that he was interested in?
Um, Maybe just communication wise. I mean, just thinking of tennis. I mean, the only thing I can come up with communication wise.
Okay, that makes sense. Now, how does your brother's diagnosis affect the family? Or how did it affect the family as you guys were growing up?
I think it took a huge weight off your shoulders, um, because you now had a name for what you had been fighting for 12 years. I don't remember how old he was. But that it's not like a hammer coming down saying that this is what everything's going to look like from here on out. It just labeled everything you had been dealing with.
Did you feel that it affected our day-to-day life?
Not at all, other than now you have a community of people to talk to.
Right, but what about growing up? Like, prior to us receiving that diagnosis?
I don't think it, I mean, he's always been my brother, and just because there was now something to call it, it doesn't make explaining it any easier. I mean, he's got this, that, and the other that was there. It was this, that, and the other 5 minutes before the diagnosis. It's just all of those now fall under a giant umbrella.
Okay.
I feel like that answer was way better anyway.
How did you feel when we got the diagnosis? Did it did it change nothing for you?
No, I mean, now I get to wear the cool bracelet, and there's people that some are in my position of having a sibling that has KBG. Some have older siblings, some have younger siblings, some it's a parent. And for me, I don't think it changed anything other than I didn't have to think of the laundry list of things that he's got going. I can just say it's KBG and then pick and choose what I wanted to talk about.
Okay, fair enough. Well, is there anything that you specifically want to add regarding your relationship with, really, I guess, with KBG? Because you were right. I mean, it affects your brother and you know that he's got it from your dad. But is there anything that in particular that stands out that makes Jordan special to you?
I mean, from being in the groups and being in the board, just knowing the struggle that people have with their whoever that has KBG, and knowing that it's not like a prison sentence of you can't have a normal life. I mean, dad has kids, he has a wife, he has dogs, he works, Jordan works, he plays computer games, he played sports in high school. I think people latch on to that diagnosis so much that it almost prevents, they don't see that you can have a normal life just because you have a diagnosis. And I think that living with Jordan and always seeing that, even though I don't live with him now, I think I mean, he watches sports. He keeps up to date with everything. He built a computer. He won't talk about it, but he's helped run a community in a video game. Like, I feel like that's very normal stuff.
So you don't feel that the effect has been really detrimental to him? Maybe he struggled at doing some of it? Is that
Yeah, he
a good
definitely, I mean, he struggled doing it, and it took him a little bit to kind of grow up isn't the right word, but mature into some of that stuff. And I mean, that's a developmental delay. It's the same thing, but it just took him a little longer, but he's normal to me.
Now, for my last question, where do you see playing a role in his life as his brother, but possibly then also being in more of a guardian role at times, or you being the person who may end up having to take care of him at some point?
Yeah, I mean, I think some of that kind of goes back to just how we were raised. Like, I think if I wasn't playing sports and wasn't playing tennis in high school and into college, like, I don't think he wouldn't want to do that. Same with doing computer stuff. Like, I always enjoyed doing computer things. That was something him and I did together, and he continues to do. And then going to like the guardian role, I mean, I've known that I will end up eventually being with him, or he will be with me however that works out. And it's been no secret to my fiance that wherever we end up, he will eventually end up one day.
Do you have any resentment about that?
I
And you
mean,
can be honest.
no, I feel like it's a lot of people, once they kind of grow up and leave home, unless they have like a super close relationship with a sibling, if it was a twin or somebody like 1 year older, 1 year younger than them, they're really close. But I feel like a lot of times, especially in my friends, they're not really close to their siblings at all. And I think that, especially with our background, being close to your family is important.
Now, along with that, do you feel that there were things that you couldn't do growing up because Jordan had his issues? Or did it really have no effect on you whatsoever?
I have to think, hold on. I don't think so. I mean, I didn't like birthday parties. You didn't like birthday parties. Like,
Well, did you feel that you ever had to explain him?
I don't think so.
Okay. Well, Grant, I want to thank you very much for the time that you took. And I hope that you will continue to play a role in the KBG Foundation. And I want to thank everybody for tuning in. And we hope that you have enjoyed this episode of Let's Talk KBG.